When an elderly janitor passed away recently in a quiet American town, his life appeared entirely unremarkable. He had spent decades cleaning floors and emptying trash cans, existing largely unnoticed in the background. Thousands of people walked right past him every single day. Because he wore faded overalls and earned a minimum wage, the common assumption was that his simple life meant extreme poverty. But when his estate was settled, lawyers discovered a crisp legal last will and testament detailing a net worth of over $8 million. This creates a mathematical puzzle. Most people accept as a hard rule that the modern economic system is rigged against low-wage earners, making it seemingly impossible to build a fortune on a janitor's salary. Our societal assumptions about what wealth looks like often mask how it is actually built. We confuse the appearance of money with the mechanics of accumulating it, leaving us blind to the reality of how fortunes are grown. To see how he avoided the common traps, we first have to look at the poverty tax. This refers to the hidden financial penalties, where lacking immediate cash ends up costing you more money on a daily basis. Consider a basic pair of shoes. Someone who can only afford $20 for footwear must buy versions made of cheap materials. The soles wear out within months, forcing them to buy another pair. Meanwhile, someone with more cash can buy a $100 pair of reinforced boots that easily lasts a decade. This split bar chart shows how that math plays out over 10 years. The person buying cheap, disposable goods out of necessity spends $400, while the person with upfront capital spends only $100. This dynamic extends to every aisle of the store. Lacking surplus cash prevents people from accessing bulk buy discounts on daily necessities like groceries, forcing them to pay a premium for smaller quantities. When an emergency occurs, like a car repair or a medical bill, that lack of savings often leads to predatory payday loans. These carry staggering interest rates, forcing the borrower to pay a heavy fee just to access their own future income. Poverty acts as a state of continuous, invisible financial erosion, where the high cost of basic survival actively prevents the accumulation of savings. The janitor's financial history shows he operated outside this cycle of consumption and debt, choosing to play by a different set of rules. A common trap for many earners is flashy spending. This involves taking out high-interest debt to finance depreciating status symbols, like expensive luxury cars, largely to project an image of success to others. This downward trending line graph illustrates negative compounding. When lifestyle is financed by debt, the interest on those loans eats into future paychecks before the work is even performed. The janitor opted for stealth wealth. He avoided bad debt entirely, drove an old car, and lived far below his means, quietly taking the surplus cash that would have gone to loan payments and saving it instead. For the average earner, the goal of looking rich is mathematically opposed to the goal of actually being rich. Every dollar spent on the appearance of wealth is a dollar removed from the actual balance sheet. By securing that surplus, he was able to activate the primary engine for wealth generation, compound interest. The mechanics are simple. By investing small, consistent amounts into broad assets over a very long timeline, the returns on those investments begin to generate their own returns. Looking at this timeline graph, compound interest acts as a mathematical snowball. For the first few decades, growth appears flat. However, as interest stacks, the curve eventually spikes upward. Because he invested for 50 years, those final 10 years generated wealth dwarfing all earlier contributions. This allowed the financial markets to do the heavy lifting. Instead of trying to trade more hours of physical labor for a higher wage, he utilized mathematical leverage to grow his capital. Massive wealth generation is often the result of this passive, mathematical function of time, rather than just the result of a high-paying job. When the contents of the janitor's portfolio were finally revealed, the shock felt by his community was absolute. The man many assumed was struggling was actually the most financially secure person in the room. This highlights a vital distinction. True wealth consists of the money and assets you don't see. It is the flashy cars you didn't finance, the interest you didn't pay, and the capital that remains quietly invested. Take a moment to audit your own financial decisions. Are you directing your income toward assets that grow over time, Or are you falling for the expensive traps of projecting an image? The path forward is built on 3 pillars: avoiding high-interest debt, relentlessly saving the difference between income and needs, and investing with extreme, unbroken patience. Absolute financial freedom remains a quiet, disciplined escape route available to anyone willing to play the long game.